I am so excited to welcome you not only to Jacksonville, but to the launching of the podcast called The Covenant, more specifically, the Sister Covenant. And yes, I did say sister. What is the covenant, the Sister Covenant? It is a circle of friends, my friends for 20, 30, 40 plus years, your friends, all of our friends, coming together in a safe space at a time such as this. We as women of color, we are counted on to nurture our families, our children, our significant others, our spouses, our community, our corporate boardrooms, and everything in between. But who fills our cup? I think about flying, and when we get ready to take off, what is said to us first? Put your oxygen mask on first before you can assist others. And that exactly is what the Sister Covenant is all about. A safe space to encourage, to listen, to cry a little, laugh a lot, but most important, to empower and to fill our cup. Good morning. Great Sunday morning. And welcome to the Sister Covenant. We are approaching our 1 year anniversary. Can you believe it? It has been a year that we have been so blessed to be in this space and to bring you some amazing and phenomenal women to empower us and to fill our cups. And we won't disappoint today. Before we get there, we just want to thank you for all the support, all the prayers, all the encouragement over the last 11 and a half months, and for purchasing your Sister Covenant apparel. That beautiful apparel that you see can be yours. I still have people come up to me and talk about how beautiful it is. So please, if you have not purchased your official merchandise, you can still do so. And we are still partnering with UNCF as our charitable organization. So every $100 that you spend, $10 goes directly to the UNCF. Mine is a terrible thing to waste. And I am super excited because on our anniversary show, we will talk more about how the Sister Covenant is going to be partnering with UNCF as we make a bigger impact on our communities. We also are just so excited to talk about our 25 challenge. So here at the Sister Covenant, we have been talking about the importance of getting vaccinated, but not just getting vaccinated, but to encourage everyone you know to be safe, to practice good hygiene, and know that we are all in this together. So powerful women get vaccinated, and together we win. So we encourage you and all of your friends to post a picture or a video on why you got vaccinated using the hashtags Powerful Women Get Vaccinated, Together We Win, and tag the Sister Covenant and 3 of your friends. And you know that we don't always unpack everything, and we won't today either, unpack everything during the time we're here on the podcast. So we encourage you to join the Sister Covenant Circle. It's simple. All you have to do to join the Sister Covenant Circle is open Facebook on your phone or your computer. Search for the Sister Covenant, find the Groups tab, click on the group titled The Sister Circle, click Join the Group. It is just that simple. And then you'll join us on the other side of the podcast. Now, I am excited and I am bursting. Why? Because the Black Expo, Florida Black Expo, is coming back to Jacksonville. So our first guest, Suzy Jackson. Suzy Jackson is the senior strategist for the Pollock Group, LLC. And I got a chance to visit with earlier this week. She's going to talk to us about the Black Expo and the fact that after a 3-year hiatus, it is coming back bigger, better, and bolder. I am so excited to present our first guest. The Black Expo has been an integral part of the Jacksonville community for 17 years, and it is coming back bigger, better, and bolder. And we have Suzy Jackson, the senior business strategist with the Pollock Group, LLC, who will be visiting with us about the Black Expo coming on October 21st through the 23rd. Welcome, Suzy.
Thank you, Pat. A pleasure, and thank you so much for asking me.
I am super excited. I have served, as you well know, on the Black Expo board for many years, and even going back to the 90s when it was in its infancy. We have had some great entertainment. We've had some powerful political figures that have come through Jacksonville, as well as some hot entertainment. Those board meetings have always been very interesting and invigorating when we're trying to select that talent. But we want to talk about that, but we want to talk to you, Suzy, about your role in bringing the Black Expo back to the Jacksonville community after a 3-year hiatus. Tell us about that.
Pat, thank you for asking me about that, because it's a very important part of the story of it coming back. For those of you that your listeners and viewers that may know, the Black Expo existed here for 17 years, continuous. Actually, it's one of the top 5 largest events, such as the Home and Patio Show, Southern Women's Show, that came to the Prime Osborne. And the person that led that for all those years was Darren Thomas with the Thomas Media Group out of Charleston, Columbia, South Carolina. And he had a relationship with my boss, Mincy Pollock, who is the founder of the Pollock Group. We are a marketing and management company. And they had been talking about just the void that there was in this area when the Black Expo left. And the only reason that it did not continue on after that 17 years, kept getting hit by hurricanes because of when it was in the fall. And it's hard to recover from something like that when there's an event that's big. So we went and talked with Darren, spent a whole day working with his staff, and decided it was time. And we made the decision, and having Darren on board to shepherd and lead us. And we were ready to go for 2020. And then you know what happened. So we were so glad to be able to move it to this year. And we are excited about bringing the Florida Black Expo back to the First Coast.
So, Suzy, it's coming back the weekend of the 21st,
yes,
a Thursday, through the 23rd, which is the big day on Saturday. So are we going to have much of the same, or how is it going to be different? Is bigger, better, and bolder? What exactly does that mean? And what should individuals expect to receive on that 3-day weekend?
Okay. First of all, I do want to plug the website, which is floridablackexpo.com. That's where you can get all information, all things Florida Black Expo. and most importantly, get your tickets to attend. But we're going to kick off on that Thursday, the 21st, with a breakfast honoring 20 under 40. We scoured our area and people nominated themselves and others nominated, and we have some wonderful people in our community that are going to be honored that have already done great things, movers and shakers, and they're under 40. And this will also be an opportunity to acknowledge our sponsors that have some of them who have been with us for years. On Thursday evening, Pat and along with her group and 24 civic-minded organizations are going to do a really powerful virtual town hall to get everyone kind of up to speed on what's going on in the political part of our lives. So that's going to be happening, sponsored by the Collective Voice Partners that evening virtually. Friday in the evening we're bringing back the taste. If you had a chance to be at that before when it was at the Stadium Club or the library or other venues in Jacksonville, we're doing a full museum takeover at the Museum of Science and History starting at 7 p.m. And it's just going to be a great evening of food. We have over 24 chefs that will have exciting food, music. Our guest artist will be Tweet. And just a really, really fun evening, all kinds of wonderful things. Angela Yee from the Breakfast Club will be our guest host. And then once we have closed that down for Friday night, then we start it all over again with what most people know as the Full Black Expo on that Saturday, the 23rd. Starting at 10 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. And there will be many exhibits. There will be small businesses. There will be great food, activities for the whole family. A wonderful day to get out, get information. We expect everyone that comes, our desire is everyone that comes to the Florida Black Expo that they will leave bigger, bolder, and better than ever.
Suzy, tell our audience the whole premise of the Black Expo. It's about empowerment. And the Sister Covenant is about empowerment. So if I am coming to the Black Expo on that Saturday with my family in tow, I'm a family of 4, how would I leave more empowered possibly than I came?
Certainly, a couple of things that will be going on. In addition to being an in-person event, we're also having a virtual event. Through our partnership with Career Source, we are going to be online for 8 days, starting on Friday, with an 8-day job fair and community fair. So just plugging in virtually, you'll be able to get information about jobs that are available in our area. You'll be able to get information about programs, educational programs, things that are going on in the community, and be able to do some shopping online if you want to as well. In person, same thing. A lot of companies are desperate for talent, and there are so many people in our community that have the skills that they're looking for. It'll be an opportunity for you to connect with companies, big and small, opportunities for our young people to learn about the opportunities for the future, STEM education, services in our community, representatives from our city and other municipalities within our area. Information. It's a time I tell people that it is like the Southern Women Show meets a family reunion meets a block party. Great information and lots of fun.
And it's definitely a party with a purpose. So we started out showcasing, as you said, individuals making a powerful impact in Jacksonville under 40. And then we go on to Friday night, which is always a blast and always a lot of fun. We don't want to say all the drink you can have because that wouldn't be politically correct. But it's libations, adult beverages, coupled with...
It is an adult event.
Yeah, it's an adult event coupled with great entertainment and a lot of networking. And as we've said, we've been on, a little pause over the last 20 months, and certainly having a nice event where you can go and be in a nice space. I think we're ready. I think our community is ready. Can you speak a little bit about some of the protocols that will be in place on that Friday and Saturday to help people feel a little more comfortable?
Thank you for bringing that out, because that is very important. one of the things that we've talked about, and we talked about this a lot, Pat, as you know, in our board meetings, how do we live in what I like to call a COVID adjusted environment? We would like to wake up tomorrow and know that all of this is gone, or maybe all of it was a bad dream, but I'm afraid that's not going to happen. So we need to do some things a little differently in the future, but we also need to live, and we need to grow, and we need to expand. So what we'll be doing is masks are not required, but they are highly suggested and highly appreciated. It's not a mandate, but we think the best thing to do as you're moving about is to make sure you have your mask and have that on, particularly if you're in a close situation with people that you don't know or outside of your household that you may be going to the events with. We will have hand sanitizing stations over everywhere. We are going to just kind of help people to, spread out. We make sure our venues have enough room so that you can move around comfortably. It is very important that we talk to the organizations where we're having the venues where we're having these events. They've got very, very strong cleaning protocols. So even while we're there, people are just making sure that we remain in a safe environment. It is very, very important, particularly within our community and the things that have impacted us so heavily throughout this pandemic, that we make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure you have fun, but we want to make sure that you stay healthy.
So once again, Suzy, thank you for all of that information. So where can our audience here in Jacksonville, but we encourage people to come from all parts of the country to come to this first class event? How can they get tickets for all three events, Thursday as well as Friday and Saturday? And as you said, the Thursday political state of the state forum and Duval style will be virtual, and it'll be on Facebook, on the Black Expo Facebook, so people all around the country can see that. But how can people actually get physical tickets to attend Friday night and the Black Expo on Saturday?
Yes, you just want to go to our website, which is Florida Black Expo, Florida spelled out FLORIDA BLACKEXPO.com. And once you get to that page, if you would like to be a vendor, we still have booths. You'll be able to buy a booth. You'll be able to buy a ticket. You'll be able to get more information about the events. And one of the things I neglected to say is the talent that's coming. If anyone has seen the Showtime show The Shy, their lead, who's Jacob Lattimore, will actually be here. He will be our guest, one of our guest artists. And I didn't know that he was an R&B singer in addition to being a great actor. Also, we're going to have James Fortune and Isaac McCree. Those of you that are really into gospel music, they've been doing something promoting talent. We're going to have a talent competition, and you'll be able to get more information about how you can register to be part and have them kind of look you over voices style, and even perform on stage for those that are chosen. So we've got a lot of fun things that people can do with their family, and we just want you to come out, be a part of it. Get your tickets early so that you'll already have it. That is, again, another way for us keeping us safe by doing things electronically. You actually be able to have your ticket on your phone. Now, if you're old school, and I'm old school about a lot of things, still be able to get tickets for Saturday at the Prime Osborne, but you do need to get tickets for the Friday night. Do those online. Also, there's a number I'd like to give. It's 904-552-5227. That is directly to the Pollitt Group. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer those. Just give us a call. If it doesn't pick up immediately, it's because we're answering other calls. Leave us a message, and we will get back to you because we want you to be a part.
I think that old school comment was for some of your more seasoned board members who have been saying, can I get me some physical tickets? Can I get some physical tickets? And for those folks that are used to the Greek halls and the stepping and all of that, as you said, family reunion feel.
Yes.
Going to be a part of that Saturday. So you said it best. Bring your family. It's a family event. Friday night is an adult event. Thursday is about feeding your mind and empowering you. So at the end of this 3-day experience, you will be better and you will be bolder and you will have experienced a bigger event.
Better than ever.
Better than ever. Suzy, thank you so much for coming and talking with us today.
Well,
And
thank you for the invitation.
we can't wait for the Black Expo. Yay! Coming back, bigger, better, and
Come
bolder.
on, everybody. Bring all your friends.
Tell my friends, Mincy and Darren, we are ready.
Yes, they are meeting now, making sure everything is wonderful.
Very good. Thank you so much, Suzy. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. We are ready for the Black Expo here in Jacksonville, Florida. So come on over, come on up the state, or come down, because it's going to be, as we said, bigger, better, and bolder, but you will be empowered after having the opportunity to be a part of this awesome, awesome event. I am delighted to introduce another dear friend of mine, another sister to the Sister Covenant, Dr. Tracye Polson. Dr. Tracye Polson is a licensed clinical social worker here in Jacksonville, Florida, and she has been working tirelessly in that profession and in the community for over 20 years. Tracye, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Sister Covenant. How are you?
I'm well, Pat. It's really good to see your face, even though it's in this virtual world.
I know we are, but you know what? This has afforded us the opportunity to still stay connected. But I also think I always try to look at the silver lining in things. Certainly, we love being in the same space and giving one another love and hugs. But this really has allowed us to make a big impact and visit with some individuals that maybe we wouldn't have been able to if not but for this technology. So it's been a good thing too.
I agree. It's really good to be with you.
So Tracye, we have your bio, and as always, it will live on our website. But tell us, before we get right into why you are here with us today, who is Dr. Polson? Who are we seeing in front of us today?
Well, first of all, I am a mom to 5 adult children. My husband and I have 5 children between us. He has 3 from his first marriage, and I have 2 from mine. I am also, as you mentioned, a mental health professional, and my role as a licensed clinical social worker is incredibly important to me. And the reason that I became a social worker, I learned very early in my life as a child that sometimes the people that are supposed to love you and protect you and care for you can also be the ones that hurt you the most. And as a very young child, I wanted to understand that. I wanted to understand why people do what they do, why parents sometimes do what they do. And so that really began a lifelong journey to understand people and their behavior and what motivates them. And more importantly, how to take that understanding and begin to help people heal and change. And so I own my own business. I have a psychotherapy and counseling practice here. In fact, this is my office. And I work with adults and couples and families here in Jacksonville and they tell me their most intimate, painful experiences. And over time, we build trust, and we, side by side, begin to understand what they want for themselves, how to solve problems, and how to heal from some pretty painful experiences. This work is deeply meaningful to me, and it's a huge part of sort of who I am as a person. I'm also a breast cancer survivor. So in 2012, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was another sort of experience of recognizing inequities and disparities in our community related to healthcare. We have a lot of uninsured and underinsured people in Jacksonville, and people die because they don't have access to good quality healthcare. So I was incredibly grateful to have the kind of healthcare that I had to help save my life. And I'm also the daughter of an Army veteran, and I'm grateful that both of my parents are still living. In fact, my mother moved down here about 3 years ago with my bonus dad, who passed away in July. So that's just a little bit about me. There's obviously a lot more. I've been on the planet for more than half a century, but I'll sort of leave it there and answer any questions you have.
So Tracie, in the intro, I mentioned that not only are you a social worker, you've been entrenched in this community for quite a while. You serve on several boards, one of which is Agape Healthcare. And we know that Agape has led the charge in this community around vaccinations and ensuring that people have access to healthcare. Tell us about your work there and why that's so important.
So Agape, as you mentioned, it's also a federally qualified health center, and it does a lot of primary care on the north side and the west side, and so some of our most vulnerable communities. And I got to know the CEO, Mia Jones, during the 2018 election cycle when I was running for the Florida State House and Mia was running for tax collector. And we developed a really good relationship. In fact, you'll hear me talk a lot about the relationships that I've built over the past several years. And we met, and she asked me if I would consider joining that board. It's been really eye-opening to learn more about the services that they provide, like I said, all across the west side and the north side. And then most of all, during this pandemic, the role that they have taken in testing, vaccinations, and really trying to talk to the community about the importance of getting vaccinated. And as you know, that is sometimes a difficult conversation to have. Lots of misinformation out there. People are understandably frightened. And we have seen a lot of people die because of that misinformation. And so Agape has gone a long way to get the word out, literally in a partnership with JTA, in a bus, going through all the neighborhoods, all the communities, trying to reach people where they are. And I'm really proud to be a member of that organization.
Thank you for that work, Tracie. Here at the Sister Covenant, we are definitely proponents of getting vaccinated because we believe powerful women get vaccinated and they get their communities vaccinated. And we adhere to all the other safety protocols that come along with this, not just the shot, but staying healthy and whole for your family. And that's some admirable work. So we thank you for that. So you're getting ready to get into some additional good trouble. We recently lost a beloved former mayor, Tommy Hazouri, who was currently a sitting city council member when he passed away just last month. And so you have recently thrown your hat in the ring for the at-large seat in seat 3. Why? Why is Tracie looking to put one more thing on her plate?
Well, like a lot of women in 2016, after the presidential election, I became much more interested and involved in politics. I'd been involved and interested years ago when I lived in Maryland and worked with a lot of elected officials there as part of my nonprofit that I ran. But when after 2016, I just got really focused on seeing more women at the table. That became really important to me. And when I began to look around locally, who was elected, who my representatives were, that again was part of the beginning of building relationships with Senator Audrey Gibson, Representative Tracie Davis, now Representative Angie Nixon, Council Member Garrett Dennis. So a lot of people that I've begun to build relationships with over the last few years. And in that 2018 race, I was incredibly honored to have the endorsement of Tommy Hazouri. I think Tommy had held that seat before. He understood the kind of leadership that we need, and he very graciously endorsed me. I knew after that loss, I lost by about 1,200 votes. I had this sense that I wasn't done. And so what I did after that loss, after I sort of, cried myself to sleep a couple of times and took some much needed rest, I began to get even more involved locally. And that turned up in a lot of different ways. I mean, it was serving on a couple of boards, but I think one of the things that felt the most powerful was after the murder of George Floyd last year. And I had already been trained as a peacekeeper and had been at a lot of rallies and protests in that capacity. But having the opportunity to be in two of the largest protests, rallies in the history of this city, side by side with a lot of people of color and white people, to talk about something that was so heinous, so disturbing, and to be there in that capacity, it made me feel so much more a part of this community. And that includes having conversations with people who don't look like me about any number of things. And again, this idea of sort of my role as a mental health professional, I am a very, very well-trained listener. So I'm talking more than I typically talk in this conversation with you, but it is really important for me to listen. And I'm a deep listener. And then I'm also a thoughtful question asker. And so those are some of the skills that I hope to bring to this seat. After Tommy, I had been thinking about this seat, knowing that Tommy would be term limited in 2023. But when he was admitted into hospice, I knew that time frame was shortened. And I had to ask myself in that moment, okay, are you ready? Are you ready to do this? And I knew the answer was yes. I feel like I have a lot to offer this community. I feel like I have a lot to offer City Hall. I think we have a trust problem. I think people don't trust a lot of their elected representatives. There's good reason for that. And I want to be a part of changing that narrative. That feels incredibly important to me.
Tracie, you said some really key things, and I want to follow up on one of them. And it's about being a part of the community and listening to the community. And you mentioned your profession and being a trained listener. We are divided. We're not only divided in this community, but in this country. In your opinion, certainly we need roads fixed. Yes, we need infrastructure. We had Donna Deegan on the show a couple of podcasts ago, and she talked about some of that infrastructure. Certainly, those things are most needed, not just in Jacksonville, but in most major cities. But what we need is to fix the heart of our people. How do you intend to be a part of the solution to do that?
I think that's a really, really good question. And I want to give you an example of something that happened during the campaign in 2018. And I like to think of this as like a both and. And what I mean by that is I think you can treat people with respect. I think you can listen to people even when they're saying things that you fundamentally and vehemently disagree with. I was at a senior center over on the West Side and walking around, meeting all these lovely people and talking to them about all kinds of things, food, their healthcare, where they grew up. And as I was making my way around the room, there were two gentlemen sitting at a table. And I asked, I just said, how are you gentlemen doing today? And one of them had an Army hat on. And now, like I said, I'm the daughter of an Army veteran. And that means a lot to me. And so he said to me, I want to know what you're going to do or what you think about people coming into our country, illegally. And I said to him, I absolutely think that we need to protect our borders. That feels fundamentally important. And he said, no. I think that if anybody comes across our borders, and I'm quoting, any man, woman, or child, we have the right to shoot them. And I was chilled. And I said, sir, with all due respect, I do not agree with that. And he doubled down. And finally I said, sir, I just want to ask you, do you believe in Jesus? And he said, well, yes, I do. And I said, well, I am pretty sure that is something that Jesus would not be for. And I just said, thank you for talking with me. And I left. So I think it is in this both and space. I think we have to let people know that we're listening. But when we hear something that is so against our values, our faith, we have to be able to, in a very respectful, calm way, say, I'm sorry, I do not agree with you. That is something that I will not do. And so one of the things that's been really important to me, both during that race and as this one heats up, and we only have 2 months, I am very comfortable in telling people what I think, what I know. I'm also super comfortable in saying I am not a content expert on all the things, but I will listen and I will lead by my values. I will not agree to do something that is against my belief system. And I will just be really clear about that. So I think, I think in that process, there's a way that you treat people, that you don't make them feel like, they're the worst thing on the planet, that you try to understand. Now, I had to wonder when I spoke to that man, I had to wonder if he had a trauma history. And I do think about this through a trauma lens, because we know hurt people if they don't get treatment, if they don't get help, if they're not understood, if they get forgotten and left behind, they're more likely to perpetrate or perpetuate that way of being.
Tracie, you mentioned trust. And the Sister Covenant is all about empowering women, specifically women of color. And there is some trust issues with our government. And again, not just here in Jacksonville, but we're talking about Jacksonville. So you talked about being a part of the community, and you've mentioned some well-respected women in particular, but people in this community that happen to be of color. How do you serve as in the at-large seat, because you would be representing the entire community, but how do you serve those more marginalized individuals as well as those more affluent individuals in the total community of Duval County?
I think part of it has to do with the kind of person that I am, but also my training. In that being a social worker, I've been in a lot of environments. And it's a way of being in different environments where you are aware of your outside role or your whiteness or the fact that you're a woman, and you listen and you pay attention and you build relationships. And so when I think about, there's 199 precincts that will be voting in this election. And when I think about all of them, I think, who do I know all across the city? Who have I already built relationships with? Will those people be willing to introduce me to other people? And so this idea of sort of being co-signed and being validated, that really means a lot, because there's no way that I'm going to know everyone. But I will hold town halls. I will walk around as I have before in neighborhoods. I want to see where we are lacking septic tanks. I want to be able to talk to the neighbors in those communities so that they themselves can have access to me and say, this is what we want. Do you see this here? Look at our recycling. Look at our trash that doesn't get picked up. I'm not afraid to do that. And in fact, I look forward to being able to walk around, listen to people, and hopefully, if given the opportunity, to help solve some really important problems.
Tracie, we come close to the end of our time, but I want to give you the last word. If you had unlimited powers, you are superwoman in this space, what would you do with those powers if you had only 24 hours to make it happen?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. I had this a little boy who's the son of a really good friend of mine. We were doing our photo shoot this past weekend for the campaign, and I said, do you have a question that you would want from me? And he said, I want you to end racism. This is a little white boy. And I just had this moment where it was sort of like, wow, if I had the power to do that, if I had the power to undo 400 plus years of systemic racism, more importantly, to let people know that when we talk about racism, it's not one-on-one relationships. These are systems. These are institutions. It's in the drinking water of these organizations. Can we begin to look at the way that those institutions, those systems intersect, and begin to tear that apart. If I had a magic wand, that is what I would do.
Well, Tracie, I am humbled to call you friend. I am humbled to have been through our leadership Jacksonville journey together and learn about the history in this community of systemic racism. And I know together we can overcome these ills. We don't have pixie dust. It won't be overnight because we didn't get here overnight, but having those continued conversations. And as you said, listening, not just with your head, but with your heart. And I am confident that you're going to do just that. Thank you, Tracie, for being on the Sister Cabinet.
Thank you, my sister. Mad respect and love for you.
A powerful woman, and we wish her well. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce a dear, dear friend of mine who is making things happen in Tallahassee and in the state of Florida. Representative Tracie Davis. Representative Tracie Davis has been in the House, Florida House of Representatives for the last 5 years. So we are just pleased to have her with us at the Sister Covenant. Welcome, Representative Davis. How are you?
I am well. I am well. Hello to my sister. Back to you.
Hey,
it's so exciting to be here this morning.
I tell you, sister, you are a dear sister married to a friend of my husband's,
yes,
a high school friend, and we probably can't talk about some of the trouble they got into. I don't think it was good trouble. It was just trouble.
It was trouble. I so agree with you. The stories I've heard. Yes, we want to leave that alone.
Leave it alone. But I can't believe when I was reading your bio, you've been in the House for 5 years. 5 years. I tell you. So tell us, we have your bio, and as always, it lives on the Sister Covenant website. But tell us, who was Tracie Davis before she became Representative Davis? And then we'll get to what it is we're going to be doing next.
Wow, who is Tracie Davis? That's a huge question, but I'll try to answer it. So Tracie Davis, before Representative Davis, was I was an elementary school teacher. I taught special ed for 7 years with the Duval County Public School System. And then I left, like I said, after 7 years, and I went over to the city of Jacksonville. And I worked in the supervisor elections office, conducting elections for Duval County, and leaving that office as the first African-American woman that held the title of deputy supervisor. So I have a lot of significant education in my background, as well as elections in my background. My husband owns a small business, a contracting firm, and so I deal with him and his business, and so all about small business throughout Jacksonville, all about our seniors and our children. So that's kind of how it was. I was a mother. I have a 29-year-old child that's my daughter biologically, and I have 2 bonus children, a son and a daughter, all adults by way of my husband. So a mom, a sister, a wife, a daughter, and so that's who Tracie Davis is. Tracie Davis became elected in 2016 is when I ran for this office and won the race. And so I've been Representative Davis since then, fighting for Floridians and my constituents in Jacksonville.
So Representative Davis, let's go straight to it. We know where we are in Florida, and we've heard Florida is blue. We've heard Florida is a swing state. We've heard Florida can make the difference nationally and really can decide who presidents are. So tell us, what you've been in the fight. Where is Florida right now? Are we a swing state? Are we blue or red? And talk to us about some of the laws that have recently been passed here in Florida.
Those are great questions, Pat. Florida can be a swing state. Coming from the election background that I have, I see Florida as a swing state. The challenge that I personally see is Jacksonville itself can be blue more often than Florida being a blue state. We have some work to do in order to make Florida a blue state, but we do have counties throughout Florida that have the ability to be blue counties. So therefore we can begin to gain some democratic power that way. It's going to take some time for Florida itself to become blue, and I don't honestly know if we'll ever get there. But we do have the potential of Florida and Jacksonville especially. Jacksonville has the potential of deciding major elections, especially like the gubernatorial election that's coming up. And so that's where I see Florida going. As far as what Florida itself is going through, we had a really, really hard session last session. We had an election bill that should have never been presented. It literally came with hurdles and barriers for voters to just simply vote. And we as a legislature should not be talking about making voting harder, but the conversation should have been, how do we make voting more accessible, and how do we make sure it's easy for everyone, our seniors, our people with disabilities, for everyone. And the SB 90 did nothing but create hurdles from the every average day voter to our voter registration groups, as well as our people with disabilities and our seniors. We also had a law passed that dealt with anti-protesting. And that was just from what we know, it was supposed to be named combating public disorder, but we called it, as fighters of that law, the anti-protesting bill, because I'll just share it. Anything that happened in this country that brought about change for minorities, change for people of color, change for Black people, came as a result of protest. Our young people took to the streets. Our young people raised their voices, and change came by way of protesting first. So to have a law on the books that say now you can be arrested and jailed for protesting or speaking out, it makes no sense. And so Florida we have to get beyond all of the negative that we're putting on the books. Coming into this session, we're now faced with the Texas style abortion law that Texas is dealing with. Whether the judges stopped it, whether it's being pursued, it is on the books, and it is a valid conversation, and I think a valid lawsuit at this point over in Texas. And we can count on something like that happening here in Florida. We saw it within the first week we were here in September, where an abortion ban type bill was filed. And so we're looking at that fight going into this new session. We're trying to figure out if we're going to have to do some election stuff coming into this session. We're not dealing with what we need to deal with, and that's how do we ensure that people are coming out of this COVID pandemic and they're able to get back to work? How do we stop the deaths and provide nurses in hospitals and teachers, staffs in hospitals, because there's a huge labor shortage there. So instead of dealing with issues like that, we are dealing with abortion issues and not fixing the unemployment system and trying to not figuring out how we deal with this labor shortage. So as a state, we have some issues in front of us, but we usually, my colleagues, have a tendency to put falsities in front of us or glares, and we deal with something that's not necessarily the priority. So that's kind of where we are as a state. And I feel the fight is just beginning.
So you have recently put your hat in the ring for another seat in the Senate. You want to tell us about that and tell us how, if elected in the Senate, how do you come to that table to help us in this situation? Because we're in a mess right now, Tracie.
You said a mouthful, and we are. And yes, to answer your question, I did on October 1, I filed to run for Senate. It is the seat that's currently held by Senator Tracye Gibson, and it's being vacated because she's termed out and cannot run any longer. She has been a warrior in the Senate, and at times have been the only Black female in the Senate. So I am, she has big shoes for me to fill, but we have been working together for a period of time, ramping up for this fight and for this run. And so I look forward to it. I'm excited about it. The energy when I announced in Tallahassee was high. The energy in the community when I announced in our Jacksonville community was high. And so I know this is the right thing for me to do. It's an opportunity that I'm going to take. And so that's why I filed, because I know this is the journey I need to walk at this time. Where we go and the difference with that is I leave a chamber that's 120 members strong. 42 of those members are Democratic members, and the rest are my Republican colleagues. So to be honest, there's absolutely nothing in the House that Democrats can stop, even if we wanted to. So because we don't have the numbers, we have to win seats in the House in order to have the numbers. That's not why I'm leaving, because I enjoyed that fight along with my Democratic colleagues in the House. And it's not a fight all the time, but for the most of the time, fighting for what's best for our Floridians, it was a fight. Most of the time we did agree on things, but when the fight was to be had, me and my Democratic colleagues were ready to have that fight. So I leave the House with a body of 120 members, and I head over to the Senate. In the Senate, we have 40 members, and currently 16 of those members are Democrats. And so with 40 members in a chamber, there is ample opportunity to really make some significant changes, really do some significant things for Floridians. As a House member, we always would say, well, we know when this bill get over to the Senate will kill it, and that will be another save for Floridians. And that's the power that the Senate has. In the Senate, we have the ability to work together in a more amicable way. Partisanship is not so strong in the Senate, and we definitely can get more things done in a cohesive manner. And so that's what I strive to do in the Senate. I take my fight for healthcare for our seniors. I take my fight for unemployment. I take my fight for education and proper funding for our public schools. I take all of those fights. I take my fight for voter accessibility and fairness. I take all of that fight over to the Senate with me, and I continue to fight for Jacksonville and Floridians as a whole.
So Tracie, how do we overcome, where we are? You talked about the fight, you talked about where Florida is, and Audrey has been that warrior, and you mentioned that. So where do we go from here so we can serve the Floridians, and be that state, that beacon of light and hope that I really feel we can be. And that's why I know you're in this fight, because of who Florida can be. How do we get there?
So that's a huge question. And so I'll try to answer it like this. me migrating from transitioning from the House to the Senate is a step that I've prepared for a number of years. So I'm ready for that seat, and I'm ready to be the next senator for Jacksonville. But it's not just about Tracie Davis. You said, where do we go from here? And that's what it is. We is a unit. We is our community. We is our state. And so we have to work together in order to change the things we don't like. We have to. You hear us saying to folks when we talk to people, when you're something is happening, you have to email, call, let your voice be heard. Right now, we're in the middle of redistricting, and some districts will change. They will not look like what we're used to today. And this only happens every 10 years. But the opportunity for our community to play a role in this has been minimalized. We're not traveling around to every county to have open public meetings any longer. Community members can watch the meetings, but it's minimal participation that will come from a community that's affected by redistricting, and we won't have this opportunity for another 10 years. So it's a we have to make calls, we have to organize, we still have to do things to make our voices heard, even if it's not in person, even if it's not public meetings going on. It is a we in this. And so I always look, when you talk about things like this, I always look at our nonprofit organizations. I always look at our organizations, like our voting registration organizations, because I always look at these groups because they're so much more important now than ever before. Because we have to utilize these groups. We have to support all of these groups to help us get our messages out, to help us corral our communities together, because it is a fight that we all have to participate in. It is a we.
So to that point, we've talked about SB 90, and some of us even refer, I'll say it, you may not want to say it, a voter suppression bill. That was
I'll say it with you. It is.
So how do we talk to those young people, those 30 and under folks, even those folks in our community that feel marginalized? How do we get them to see themselves as a part of the we? How do we get them to say, we need to have our voices heard, and somebody really, 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 really is going to listen to our voice, to come out and exercise our vote as our voice, especially in this climate where it seems to be a little bit more difficult to even do that? How do we get that we?
So the SB 90, the voter suppression bill, I'll help you with that. The we, and including young people, Pat, that is always a hard question. But I think I've gotten to the point of answering it in a sense of, we have to meet everyone where they are. We have to utilize the avenues where our young people are. They are on social media. They are on Instagram. They're in Snapchat and all the other ones I don't know anything about. The Facebook ads and things like that. We've got to meet those young people where they are. But we also have to keep talking. I tell my seniors that have stories, we cannot ever stop talking to them. You can never stop telling them the history of how we did not always have this right to vote. We just can't stop. But we also have to meet them where we are. And we, me, myself, as an older person, I don't know all these social outlets, the social media outlets that they have. And so that's why it's incumbent on us to incorporate young people in everything we do. I remember when I was in the supervisor elections office and I went in right after the 2000 election. I didn't know how to message young people because I was not their age at that point. So what we did was we created a group called the Teen, and it was Teen team election awareness movement is what we call them, the team. But they were young people brought into our office to message at that time to other young people. And that's what we have to do. We have to bring young people into our nonprofit organizations. We have to bring young people into our voter registration organizations, because they can help us message to that age group that is just not listening to us talk to them. It's about pictures. It's about social media for them. It's about meeting them where they are. But sometimes we don't talk their language. And so we need another young person to talk their language and help us utilize those social media outlets. But we cannot just not approach them. We have to go and meet them where they are.
So Representative Davis, when is the election? And how do we get behind our candidates that are going to serve the needs of our community best?
I love that. So my election is August 23rd, 2022. So it is a little time off, but not really. So thank you, Pat, for giving me this platform. But the easiest way to help me now is or any candidate that's out there. If we have the ability of reaching folks and asking people to sign a petition for us, that helps us to not have to come up with the qualifying fee. My qualifying fee is over $1,700. And so if I can get enough petitions, I don't have to pay that qualifying fee. So I am going to qualify by petitions. And so right now at this moment, I would love to get that done fast and in a hurry. So I have the petition up on my website, which is electtraciedavis.com. Tracie is Tracie. Davis, Davis.com, electtraciedavis.com, and we'll have the petition up on the website. Now, a lot of people don't like to, put their signature out there, and I completely understand that, but I will have some people moving around with some petitions or whatever. I can always give me a call, personal cell. But yeah, petitions are what we want. If anyone wanted to donate a small dollar, $5, $10, it spends just like any other money. They can do that by way of the website as well. So all of that is helpful. If you are looking to support a candidate or help a candidate, volunteering is always a great thing to help candidates, because we most of the time don't have a lot of money to pay everyone on the team. But the best thing you can do for a candidate is sign a petition, donate $5 or $10, and then volunteer with the campaign. That goes a long way.
Well, what we've learned over the most recent years, and you said it best, it's a we. It's not a spectator sport. It's an all-in sport. And we know that most politics, it's local. So it's here in our communities and it's in our state, and then it rolls up nationally. So it takes all of us. And you said it also, it's not about disagreeing. It's about how we can come together and make a difference and understand the differences. But in order to do that, we got to be all in together to hear what to hear hear one another, right? So my friend, we wish you Godspeed here on the Sister Covenant. We want you to come back prior to August of 2022, but we wish you all the best as you continue to try to make Florida the best state in our 50 states.
I know. And I just wanted to say before we leave, thank you again, my sister. I appreciate this platform. You don't get this open door all the time to just be able to talk about everything that's happening. So I just want to let you know I so appreciate the opportunity and the invitation.
I want to ask you, Tracie, and now it's Tracie. What would you have said to Tracie at 20 or at 30?
That's awesome. What would I have said to Tracie? So I'll just share this with everyone. So when Tracie was 29, she almost had a mental breakdown because she was turning 30. So on my 30th birthday, I was very somber. And it was the fact that I was leaving my 20s. I don't know what it was about it, but my 30s ended up, I think, being some of the greatest years that I had in my life. And then for me, it's just gotten better every 10 years. I think at this point, I'm doing the most, as the young folks say. But I think Tracie would have just said, be patient, because I'm not. And I'm not patient. And I think Tracie would have said, take a deep breath, as I tell people all the time, and just relax. And so I finally got to have arrived to that point in my life at this point where I know how to take a deep breath and just relax. And so I think that's where I am, and what I would have told 20-year-old Tracie would have told 30-year-old Tracie.
Thank you, my friend. Godspeed to you.
Thank you.
And you have friends at the Sister Covenant.
Thank you, my sisters. Thank you.
A powerful, powerful woman, an authentic woman, and someone that is in the fight for the right reasons. So we are here to support all of the folks that are here to support the community, not just in Jacksonville, Florida, but all across our country. This was a powerful, powerful podcast, but I am super excited about what we're going to bring to you in 2 weeks as we celebrate our 1-year anniversary of the Sister Covenant. We're going to leave you today with another powerful PSA. Powerful women get vaccinated. But as always, my sisters, be bold, be brilliant, be brave, my sisters. You are beautiful, and be blessed.
Hello, I'm Dr. Kim Barbell Johnson. I'm a family physician and a clinical research scientist. As a physician and a scientist, I chose to get vaccinated because I understood the science enough to extinguish the politics from this pandemic. I also chose to improve my odds of survival in this pandemic for my children, for my parents, and my community. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.
I got vaccinated early this year because it was the only hope of making sure that I was safe, that my family was safe, that if I did become COVID positive, I had all the tools in me or all the medicine in me to help save my life. And it did just that. In July, early July, I tested positive for COVID, although I had been vaccinated, and I was hospitalized for 5 days. And I can tell you that being vaccinated helped to save my life. Doctors said that to me, and I know that to be true. I think it is so important to get vaccinated. I think I'm living proof that if you're vaccinated, you can fight this thing, this new variant, the Delta variant, that is so powerful. I have family members right now in the hospital that are COVID positive. I've had 2 family members to pass from COVID. So please, please don't hesitate. Get vaccinated. It could save your life. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.